Something's happening in America. The nation was founded by European Christians, but according to new numbers, that part of the population is now the minority. Jennifer Wishon explains.
In the time since President Obama was elected, the nation has experienced a dramatic shift.
We've gone just in the last 8 years from being a majority white Christian country to a minority white Christian country. And I should be really clear here, that means if you take all white Christians, so Protestants, Catholics, Orthodox, non-denominational, everyone who identifies as a white, non-Hispanic Christian.
In 2008, white Christians made up 54% of the population. Today, they make up 45%. Here's why. White couples aren't having enough babies to keep up with birth rates of other races and immigration rates. Also, an increasing number of whites, especially millennials, are leaving the church. It's a new reality Robert Jones details in his new book, The End of White Christian America.
And you say that because of this, white Christians are kind of having this identity crisis, right?
And a sense of real anxiety about what this means for not only the church, but what does it mean for the country?
Think about it. During the 8 years white Christians have been on the decline, the culture has changed dramatically. Gender identity issues are impacting schools, Christians are facing unprecedented levels of persecution, and gay marriage is the law of the land.
I do think the issue of gay marriage is a real bellwether issue here. I mean, it's an issue that conservative white Christians in particular were pretty much all in opposing from very early on, from the 70s all the way through. And it's an issue, as you said, that has kind of been lost. It's been lost in the courts. It's been lost in the court of public opinion.
8 years ago, 40% of Americans supported same-sex marriage. Today, 53% support it.
Jones hopes his book serves as a guide to the signs of the times. They're the numbers behind the sense that something's different that's being felt across America and is materializing both along racial and political divides.
His book isn't about the presidential race, but his findings help explain what's fueling the Trump train.
I think the anger that we're seeing is really rooted more in this sense of anxiety about cultural change and this sense really of nostalgia for a time when conservative white Protestants, I think, were more central to the American story, were more central to American culture, and had their hands, frankly, more on the levers of power.
Nearly 80% of white evangelicals feel Christians are being discriminated against in America. And more than 2/3 believe discrimination against whites has become as big a problem as discrimination against other groups.
I mean, we're seeing racial unrest, not that divisions haven't been there, but they've been exposed in a way that I haven't seen in my lifetime.
Yeah, one challenge I think for white Christians is making connections with their black brothers and sisters on many of these questions.
For instance, 80% of black Christians say recent killings of black men are part of a larger pattern of how police treat African Americans. Just 29% of white evangelicals agree. No matter where you fall along the graph, the fact is America's Christians are still mostly segregated.
Martin Luther King was famous for saying 11 a.m. on Sunday morning is the most segregated hour in America. Still today, 90% of churches are essentially monoracial churches. So there's still not as much of that kind of connective tissue between these two worlds of Christianity.
Dramatic realities and shifts that help explain at least some of the angst that's behind the headlines. Jennifer Wishon, CBN News, Washington.